Hello, hey there guys, and welcome back. Welcome to the witching half hour or so. I'm your host, Jody Ann. I am a witch and I have been practicing my craft, since I was a teenager. I came up and found witchcraft in the 90s. So I have been practicing a long time. I guess that means more than 20 years. We are in season 2 of my podcast. I'm so glad you've joined our earbud coven, and we are diving into the elements. We're doing a deep dive into the 4 elements that we work with in witchcraft, and today's element is earth. Before we get into that, I do have a little bit of housekeeping for you guys. Number 1, please subscribe. Leave a comment, leave a rating. It's really helping the Earbud Coven grow. It helps us reach each other and connect with each other. Community is so important. So take the time to do that, or even a review. That would be wonderful. We are in March right now as I'm recording this, and this will come out in March. I am planning to launch my Patreon. To access that, please go to my website, www.jodyanpsychicmedium.com. There's a link in the description to get there. I'm not going to have tiers. I'm just anything you would like to contribute to the podcast. I welcome that. I thank you ahead of time. By joining the Patreon Earbud Coven, you will be receiving access to video chats. When I record with my guests, we are recording over Zoom. So I do have video chats of that. We tend to talk quite a bit, and I have to edit things down to fit it into our half hour or so. I'm going to be offering those videos. I'm also going to be offering to anyone in the Patreon first chance to sign up when I do a pop-up reading spot. I'm going to start doing those. I think we're going to do it quarterly. I haven't really set a schedule yet, but I'm going to be offering pop-up shop readings, both in person if you're in the Lower Mainland, and over Zoom if you are one of us who are out in the world beyond Canada and BC. If you're in the Patreon, you will be getting first come to those offers. You're also going to be receiving extra bonus stuff whenever I create it. So let's talk about earth and the element of earth. I'm doing a series on the elements. They are a fundamental building block of witchcraft. I find that every few years, I kind of revisit my relationship with the elements. So for the podcast, I wanted to revisit them. We're going to go through the 4 elements: earth, air, water, fire. We're going to break down a little bit of what it's like to work with them, some of what I think of as like the personalities of each of these. I think of them that way because it helps me understand the energy behind them. I feel like every time we deepen our understanding of any of the 101 style things in paganism and in witchcraft, that we really, really level up all of our workings. Our topic today is working with earth energy. In magical practices, we use energetic correspondences, and we are always working with the 4 elements. The 4 directions correspond to them, different angels, different totems. You can layer all kinds of things in the 4 directions. It's the energy we call on when we do a lesser banishing ritual or when we cast a magical circle to work in. I do have an episode on casting a circle. It is episode, oh my goodness, which one is that? I gotta look that up. 20. Casting a Circle is episode 20 of the podcast in season 1. When I think about earth energy, I right away go to the idea of being grounded. I'm pretty high energy. Like some people might call me high strung. I kind of prefer the idea that I'm like a collie. If you don't walk me regularly, I'm not fun to be with inside. So grounding was something that was really difficult for me to get consistent and good at. And it's also really, really important for me to learn because of the work I do. Because I do mediumship, because I do tarot work, because I do healing work with clients, I need to stay really, really grounded so that I'm not taking on other people's energy and so that I don't become exhausted. It's been really important to me to learn how to pull from that unlimited source of energy that Gaia has for us instead of depleting my own frantic, bubbly energy. Grounding is really important, especially when we're going to be connecting with spirit and channeling. That work actually requires you to be in a very heightened energetic state. And unless we are firmly grounded with our roots into the earth, it can just be exhausting. I mean, I was taught when I was doing a lot of channeling work that if you're not grounded, I don't want to say not safe, but it's really not the best way to do the work, and that the connection you get is not as strong or secure if you're not rooted in our beautiful earth energy. And what I found personally was anytime I did the work, like if I was channeling or doing readings and I wasn't properly grounded, or I just wasn't very practiced at it, that I would find that I would become very emotional. There would be these ripples of other people's energy that would come kind of in and interfere with my own auric field. And being really grounded and building a personal practice around waking up, doing some deep breathing, and getting securely grounded and visualizing and doing that grounding meditation really helped my emotional states. It helped me be less roller coastery, right? It's a lot better now that I'm in my almost crowndom. But when I was a young woman, I was easily affected by other people's energy. And I really think that was because grounding is so hard for me. When you do grounding work, you are consciously securing the connection that we all naturally have with Gaia, with Mother Earth. See, because we're already connected. We are always connected to Gaia's energy. And I was taught that when we do a grounding and practice grounding techniques, we are affirming the connection we already have to Gaia. We are connected to her. Like, you can't get away from earth energy. I mean, we live on earth and we are all connected to Gaia. The practice of grounding reaffirms and secures that connection. It brings it into your conscious mind. Think of it kind of like breath work, right? We're all breathing all the time. If you're not breathing, you're not alive. Doing breath work brings conscious thought and consciousness to your breath so that you can use it purposefully. It's the same thing with working with earth energy. We're already connected. The unlimited, nurturing, powerful force of earth is within each one of us. It's deep within our cells. It's inside our souls. It resonates with us. It's always there for us to tap into and draw from. When we practice working with earth energy, we're not learning something new. We're not channeling something new. We're reaffirming what's already there, and we're using it in a more conscious and productive way for our purpose. One of the things that I realize I teach my children this in a very unconscious way. We're an active family. We hike. If you've been on my Instagram, you know we're out in the woods a lot. When we do big hikes and things, I actually have been teaching them since they were young to pull from the energy around them. They're already naturally connected, and being children who have been raised in these ancient traditions, they know about energetic flow. It's as natural to them as prayer is to a Christianized family. So they will pull from the energy around them, because I've told them, like when we're hiking and they're tired and I'm like, okay, well, we only have a little bit longer to go and there's a nice rest stop up there. Let's just pull from the energy around you. Ask Gaia for support. Go forward. We can do this. And I've worked with my kids, and it's the same thing we can do in our magical practice, right? We can learn to pull from Gaia consciously and pull from that earth energy consciously, so that we're not depleting our own personal energy. So on days when you don't get a lot of sleep, you can do a grounding practice, and you can invite that unlimited energy to flow up your roots and through your core and into your auric and into your chakra system. And her energy really is unlimited. One of the things about working with earth energy and consciously working with it is you really start to challenge some of the ideas we pick up in our culture. There is so much abundance. There really is no scarcity. This planet has everything we need. Earth has everything we need and can provide for everyone on it. Side note, yes, human beings are doing a crap job of taking care of it, and we are polluting and we are changing things. That's a fact. I accept that. I'm not arguing with that. What I am saying is there is enough food resources. There is enough fish. There is enough plant life. There isn't always enough toilet paper at a grocery store during a pandemic, but that's human stuff. That's not natural earth stuff. So what are some of the other correspondences we have to earth? I find earth is a bit of a tricky one because we're always on Gaia's crust. We're always here on her. We're always connected to the earth energy. So it's a little tricky to think about what corresponds to earth. What I have for you though to start is our zodiac signs. The 3 earth signs in the zodiac are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. These 3 signs thrive in predictability. They really like routines and they really like planning. They also, especially the Taurians I know, are connected to the idea of pleasure and abundance. They're mostly foodies. They love good company, good food, good people, and abundant things. Not richy, wealthy things, but goodness and abundance around them. With Capricorns, it's all about planning. It's all about knowing how you're moving from one place to the next. And Virgos are all about stability and safety. So when we're looking at earth energy, we can draw from what we know about the zodiac to help us understand this element. And you guys know, like I'm good at tarot, but I'm not a master of the zodiac in any ways. My information is very surfacey and rudimentary, and it's one of the things I'm studying this year and trying to deepen my understanding of. So you may know more about these signs than I do. What I do know is if you take what you know about those signs, you will find that tapping into or diving into journaling about those styles of energy that associated with those signs, those really beautiful attributes that they have, you can find that when you're working with earth energy. So the ideas of security, safety, abundance, pleasure, planning, timing, looking ahead. And timing is really neat because you can see that reflected in nature all the time. So the idea of planning and timing and how that relates to nature and earth is a really neat one to dive into because, of course, we have the turning of the wheel of the year. We have migrations. We have the energy of spring and growth, and it all happens in perfect time. Somehow, all of the turtles go to the same place every year to lay their eggs. The salmon that have never gone up the stream know exactly when to start heading for the freshwater streams. Timing is important. The predictability. We can depend on spring every year. We can depend on summer. We can depend on harvests. We can depend on all of these things. And throughout time, the humans of the world we have look to earth energies for predictability and planning of our lives. I have found when we start working with earth energy, many of us have to challenge our beliefs around scarcity and abundance. These will come up and we usually have to do some work on them. This is because the dominant culture right now uses the idea of scarcity to control us as consumers. Now, yes, that is some of my personal political view, but this is my podcast and I'm allowed to say anything I want on it. We do live in a culture that perpetuates the idea of scarcity. It's a lot of the underpinning of our patriarchal and imperialistic mindset. This idea that there's limited amounts of things. It perpetuates greed. It perpetuates hierarchies. It's subtle, but it's there. So when we really tune into the natural spaces around us, we can combat this cultural lie of scarcity. The earth has enough of everything, and the evidence of that is around us all the time. I've already said how I live in the Pacific Northwest. So that is an area of Canada. For those of you who don't know, I'm on the west coast of Canada in what is considered a temperate rainforest. That's because unlike the rest of Canada, which has the prairies and these open spaces, we are sheltered by the Pacific Ocean. And then we have this backbone of mountains behind us. So we have this rainforest condition that produces huge trees, lots of abundant growth. The ground doesn't freeze here the way it does in other parts of Canada. So you can have coniferous forests that are awake all year instead of going into dormancy like they need to in, say, northern Alberta or up in like way north. Anyway, my point is that there is an abundance of food in the parks and green spaces around my house in an urban setting. Vancouver is the third largest city in Canada. Yes, it's smaller than all your cities in the States, but it's still one of our big ones. And you can find during the right time of year, we have fiddleheads, we have blackberries, huckleberries, salmonberries, thimbleberries, this stuff called skunk cabbage that it's probably not that delicious, but it's super edible. It's like a cabbage that smells skunky. There is shellfish that you can pull from our oceans. There's abundance everywhere. The idea that there is not enough food in the world isn't about the production of earth. It's about the distribution on the human end of things. The abundance of what Gaia can provide for us is everywhere. So I really welcome you to learn about the flora and fauna where you live, whether you live in a cityscape or a more urban kind of suburb area, or whether you live rurally. Dive into what is in your area, what plants are growing, what animals live in your area. So again, I live in a pretty unique place. So we have bears in our garbage cans. There's bylaws that we have to lock up our trash cans because of the amount of wildlife we have in our neighborhoods. So we have enough food in our city parks that there's a population of bears that can feed themselves adequately. That's how abundant Earth is. And you will have them too. Have a look around. Do you have pigeons? Do you have blue jays? Do you have crows? What kind of animals are living in your landscape? What's growing wildly? What is the stuff that the city planners absolutely hate in your landscape? Because I bet you it's a natural food source that grows abundantly when we're not creating cities and sidewalks. So the last thing I want to touch on with the element of earth is how it connects to our chakra system. So most of our chakras do have an element associated with them. The one that I associate most with the earth energy is our root chakra, that one right at the base of our sacrum that is beautifully red and vibrant. It connects to the idea of a life force and security and safety. When our root chakra is out of balance, we usually see people who are struggling with the idea of fight or flight or safety, and often grounding. So the idea of safety and security is connected to earth. Staying grounded helps with that. Working with that beautiful, bright chakra, root chakra, helps with that as well. Anytime that we are in a place where we are not feeling safe or secure, the earth element is one of the ones we can turn to and connect to. And personally, I think that's why a lot of people in trauma recovery and doing healing work tend to go to natural spaces. It's within the flow of nature and being surrounded by the natural energies that we can calm and quiet our nervous systems, and we can get recentered and come back to ourselves and reconnect. Safety is one of the themes working with earth energy. So I guess what I want to gently put out here is, if you struggle with connecting to earth energy, if it makes you feel sluggish, because some people who I've talked to and trained with, they find earth energy makes them feel slower and sluggish. The way they've broken through that and the way they have overcome that is looking at their relationship to safety. Do they feel heavy because it is a risk to slow down? Do they feel sluggish and bogged down in earth energy because they're not used to being solidly connected and they're more comfortable in a flight situation or a fight situation? So those are some pretty deep topics. I just wanted to touch on them and put them out there. If you're new to this work, I would stick with grounding and abundance work before you dive into your connection to the idea of safety, because that's going to be heavier work, and stepping into it from a place of understanding grounding and abundance will support any work you do on the idea of safety. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say about that right now. All right? Okay. Grounding, safety, security, abundance. These are the big takeaways of the earth element that I really wanted to talk with you about. It's pretty nuanced. Like, these elements are nuanced, and there's lots of different things that we can learn when working with them. But today, those are the big takeaways I wanted to have with you. As part of our working with the elements this year, I am offering you guys different tools with the elemental episodes. They do go out in my newsletter, Little Bit of Magic. It's a love letter I send to you every month, full of encouragement, ideas, the musings of my brain, and things that you can practically use as you develop and walk this beautiful path. I'm going to be including a grounding meditation that I learned through my work with the Last Mask Center, which is a shamanic training center. I'm going to pull from that lesson and use a lot of the techniques I learned there and prepare a grounding meditation for you guys so that you can start your day with a grounding practice, so that you can go through the rest of your day secure, safe, and living in your power and abundance. The only way you can get those meditations right now is through signing up to my newsletter, because I send a private link out with the newsletter when I release those. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being in the Earbud Coven and giving me your time and hanging out with me. I'm so very grateful for all of you. Full show notes to this episode will be on my website, as always, www.jodiannepsychicmedium.com. You can find out all the things I'm doing on there. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say today. Talk to you guys soon. Bye. So, one of the ways that